to make sure our students are abreast and that they are able to be able to comprehend the standards. But when we have our summer, what we have noticed through brain research is that it is very difficult for a lot of times the information to continue to transfer into the next school year. So what we offer is making sure that you, as a parent, a caregiver, or guardian, you are well aware of exactly where your child ended at the end of the school year, where they landed, and we give you a clear bridge on how you can continue to make sure your child's needs are met as they get ready for the upcoming school year. So we're excited about the partnership and excited about having the opportunity to extend services, because at the end of all of our thought processes, we want equity and we want best practices for all of our children.
That is so excellent to hear. And then, Kim, if you could walk us through some of those best practices, particularly the ones that you all do offer through intentional intervention.
Yeah. So thank you, Erica. So, some of those best practices that we offer is basically an individual portfolio for your child. We are so excited. And when I tell you, I do not think you will find another organization as excited as we are to provide individualized services. We do not do a big group portfolio. We look at your child and then we examine them thoroughly. With our baseline package, what we're looking to do, or what we do actually do, is we do baseline assessments for your child. That means we do a baseline reading assessment where we're able to make sure that we let you know exactly the level your child is reading and comprehending on. We do a very defined math assessment test where we are able to let you all know exactly where your child is performing mathematically. We also do behavior screeners for parents that have behavioral concerns for children. And we take all of those scores, including other brain-based assessments that we do to measure how quickly your child is able to respond to certain stimuli. We then take all of that information and we build an individual portfolio for your child, where we create a calendar, step by step, on how you are able to work with your child, and making sure also that this is a portfolio you can take to any school district in the United States of America to make sure your child is being properly serviced. So what we do is we arm you with all the tutelage that you will need to make sure that your child is successful. It indeed is. It's an amazing offer that we present out for our parents. And one thing that we also find that is amazing, Eric, I know you and I were speaking about this, is that we don't just talk to parents, we do intake for our children as well. So we like to explain to our students exactly what we're doing. We want to make sure they understand every battery, every assessment. And we also interview our parents as well. And we want to make sure they understand every battery, every assessment. And when we give them that final portfolio, we send a hard copy to your address of preference. And we also give you a digital portfolio. It just brings about a sense of security and comfort as you are prepared to be able to see your child for the summer and upcoming school year.
I love that, Kim. And I was just sharing in the comments. I want to say good morning and thank you for joining to Tanya Sloan's. Good morning, Sloan. So great to see you. And I just posted in the comments that this is also great information for individuals that are planning a family as well. That your 20 plus years in education are specifically in early childhood education. So could you talk to the Reframe Brain audience a little bit more with regard to people who are planning a family, people that are looking at, okay, well, my baby is, maybe in preschool, or they have a baby that is in the care of a parent until they get that baby in daycare, or perhaps they're not really considering a daycare, or perhaps it is a daycare that they're considering and they want to look at some type of academy that really is going to feed their child so that when they come to the systems that you work within, Kim, that they are well prepared. So could you talk a little bit about, you shared with intentional intervention, the profile work that you all do. Could you talk to us also around, we talked about in the last episode that when you think about intervention, that word cloud, there's often struggle, there's thinking about oh, someone who is on this sliding scale where they're not performing well, but it is also, as you said, that scholar, that child that excels, they do well, they don't seem like they need a lot of help, so to speak, but there are some other areas that perhaps they're have deficits in. So, could you talk to the parents that are planning a family and how they can prepare to be attentive and how intentional intervention does, in fact, meet the needs of a diverse community of scholars?
Yeah, Erica, thank you so much for that leading. Great question. So yes, our services definitely don't just extend to our children that may be having academic challenges. Our services definitely extend into the holistic child. And so one thing we know and we hold true is that a lot of times when we think about scholars who are already have ascertained information, we look at it as though that they do not need that extra support, when the truth is an intervention is not just for a person who is struggling. An intervention is just timely support for any person. And all children need some platform of support, period. And so we want to make sure that we set that out, because a lot of times as parents or caregivers, we can get very lost in feeling like our children are already okay. We look at the report card, but we're not necessarily viewing the whole child, which means they may need a different level of support. And we want to make sure as well that we're hitting all of those bells and whistles to make sure that we're building a strong child, a child that is fully formed and ready to be able to compete and be there for a global society. We, for people who are planning families, there are a lot of pieces as well that I know that parents are concerned about when they're choosing settings for their children to be in. But understand, we also do a part of our programming is also around readiness. So if you have questions around kindergarten or pre-K readiness, we're also there for you to be able to consult and to answer those questions as well.
Love that you all do that work. That is extraordinarily important work, Kim. You've talked about the summer slide, you've talked about the profile work that you all do at Intentional Intervention. Can you share with us in a little bit more detail? So, I have a scholar. I know that, hey, we've all been in the pandemic, so definitely impacted. And I am really wanting to ensure that, and I'm coming back to join you here live. I want to ensure that my scholar is prepared and that I have seen and I have witnessed how, even if as a parent, a guardian, custodial person, even if I don't understand how to quite put it into words, I know that there's something that could be better. I know that they've been impacted. I
Yes.
know kind of the ways and the methods of, hey, just kind of, you'll be fine, continue to push through. They have seen a number of people, perhaps in their families, pass away, perhaps in their friend circle. Perhaps they've seen some shifts that I didn't think that they didn't respond in the way in which I thought that they would respond to. There's just something. There are different things that I've noticed about my scholar or scholars, and I don't have maybe the terminology for it, but I know that there's something different. And I want to make sure that this particular difference is improved upon. So walk me through, how would and I don't know where you are, so I don't know if your services are within the scope of a specific state or if you're able to help nationwide. How would I go about getting help from someone who has done the work, has done the administrative, has the credentials, has the background, has the authority as an early childhood educator and the founder and CEO of Intentional Intervention, developed curriculums, has been a part of policy conversation, has informed policy conversation, um, has done leadership work, has been awarded Teacher of Year awards, is widely respected by her community. And when I think about the greater Atlanta area, that is no, you know, easy place to kind of get your chops developed in, so to speak. So we're talking about the greater Atlanta area and then moving into spaces where it's more intimate. Talk to me about how would I get to someone like you and your team to say, I am interested in having you give me, as a master diagnostician, a report of where my scholar is and how we can navigate into much more uh, academic, wealthier water, so to speak.
Thank you, Erica. Great question. So, thank you. We're going to provide information for direct LinkedIn. So, upon requesting services, you would just directly message our team. In directly messaging our team, we get back to you in less than 24 hours. After that time that we contact you, we set up a virtual Zoom meeting and we're able to first just hear you. We have some documentation we would love for you to fill out as our parent intake. And we also have something for our children that is a child intake, and it is something very developmentally appropriate. And it's something that all of our scholars can be able to go through. A lot of times, our parents will request that we're able to go through that with the scholar, and we're able to do that. From that intake, we get all of the information that is needed to be able to understand our levels of concern and challenges, or just even questions that you may have, like you stated, about where do we go next. For our firm, we start at the very beginning in the basics. We see your child as the information you give us, but we know where to start on the mile markers to see exactly where your scholar is actually having the root of their challenges. So, a lot of times, as parents, and I can speak for myself, we think it is one thing, but it's actually something else, right? So, we take the time, and that's why it's very important to have professional educational examinations, because where I'm saying, where I think they're not reading these words, and so because they're not reading these words, they can't read those books. Where we're able to do further like diagnostician work, where we're able to say, well, there's a reason they're not able to read those particular words. It's because they're not hearing those sounds. And a lot of times as well, I want to make sure I give credence to, we look at the space of how we were taught when we were growing up, and things have absolutely shifted and changed. And that's just for the betterment, right? There's always going to be paradigm shifts when you look at how education changes or how a global pandemic changes. And so it's not literally just about my child's not learning and this is a concern. It's about there's been a big shift. There's been a shift in the way children ascertain information, even with brain development. And when we look at our continuum of what we say, okay, at 5 years old, this is what we expect a child to know. Well, that has changed greatly. I'm going into my 22nd year of education, and I see a kindergarten student much differently now than I did when I started year one. So, because we honor those shifts and changes, and because we have those qualifications and specifications, we're able to see beyond and actually dig in to get that root cause for us. It's important for us to honor the why protocol in education to see why and where your scholar is. We are excited about the initial consultation space because we are able to hear our parents. And from that, we can take pieces of that to help us when we begin to build portfolios to say individually, what does this child need? For us, that's why it's intentional intervention, because we're focusing intentionally on your child. We're not using a bandwidth of information from other children to make a determination on how we're supporting your child. This information for us is specifically for your child and where your child is. And no two scholars are actually the same. I've done this statistical work for decades, and I will let you know, you have two children sitting in one classroom and they are complete opposites. Yes, they need some of the same things, but the way we actually intervene with them is different. And if I can, Erica, I'll just tell you one thing that makes people a lot more comfortable is when I speak to parents, I speak to them like I am a general or a medical practitioner, not with any of the qualifications. So, not in any way to bring down all of the hard work that our frontline workers and our doctors and medical MDs have to endure. But thinking about it just in a way for an analogy, when you go to the doctor, you don't want to go sit in a room with 5 other people. When you are sitting with your practitioner is listening to you and they are taking notes and they have a chart. And from there, they're able to prescribe you specific medication. If you can just take that analogy and look, it is very much the same when we're looking in an intervention world that is intentional. I would not want to receive high blood pressure medication when I actually have a completely different a heart condition, for instance. You want to know that you're being prescribed something specifically for you. And that is what we do in our consulting. We are specifically prescribing what is needed for your child based on reading a chart, based on running labs and tests, right? All of that allows us to be able to stand justifiably on our platform to say we know we're doing the right work equitably for children. When we think about equality, that just means kind of for the good of all. When we think about equity, that narrows it down to specifically what is good for me to make sure that I have access. So we are standing on the platform of access, opportunities, and outcomes. And so we're so happy to be able to get those direct messages and to connect specifically with our parents and with our community to say this is exactly what we can offer you to make sure we ensure positive outcomes.
I love that very detailed work and that layout that you provided. And we have Sloan's and mom that are in the chat. And Sloan said that, yeah, no two children are exactly alike. And when
Absolutely.
there is a family of children, it is important to recognize each child, excuse me, their diverse and unique set of experiences that they have within their person and that they bring. And I also love how you shared around the way that you educated and onboarded a kindergartner 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago now, as you enter into your 22nd year into as a formal educator, that you would not do that the same way moving forward now. So I know a lot of people like to take the premise that yeah, some things never change. And that is very true. Some things never change. You put a seed in the ground, you water it, you nurture it, and a harvest comes up. However, that soil has changed since 20 years ago. The
Absolutely.
climate has changed since
Yeah.
20 years ago. The
Yes.
earth has changed since 20 years ago. Temperature settings have changed. There's been a lot of shifts and change. And so, to let us not be ignorant of that and to embrace new techniques, new tools, new information, and new beliefs and mindsets, which it sounds like intentional intervention brings to the forefront. So, are you specifically relegated to folks within the state that you live in and know you live in the Atlanta area? Or are you able to help parents who definitely are making a decision around ensuring that their scholar has their best, living their best scholar life, having their best education life? Um, are you all are we afforded the opportunity to welcome your services no matter where we may be?
Yeah, absolutely. Our services are nationwide. And so you do not just have to live here in the great old peach state of Georgia, where I reside. It is virtually at the hand or at the fingertips of all. And I would like to say also, Erica, I think in this space where the last time you and I were talking, we were a bit obviously dismal and still healing from the mass shootings that took place in the elementary setting in Texas. And I want to be able to say that going into our upcoming school year, I'm clear that a lot of parents have a lot of questions, a lot of doubts around school security. And for some parents, the virtual space may be one that is a bit more safer at this time, where they can have their
Mhm.
eyes on their scholar or just make sure that they are in a more protected place other than brick and mortar. I honor those thoughts and those feelings and decisions. And in that space, we just want to make sure that our parents, our caregivers, and our guardians are still in a very solid place of knowing where their scholars stand. Face to face instruction has the research behind it to say it is highly effective. However, as I stated previously, we're just in a different space with education. Our shifts look different. Our reasonings for wanting our scholars to be in virtual academies or learning hubs also look differently. And I want to make sure that I'm also bringing our consulting services to those platforms as well. So if you are a person that is a director of a learning hub and you know that you're going to need some guidance around getting students levels and getting the proper intervention set for wherever they may be, like we stated, not just for the struggling learner, but also for the child that is accelerated in their learning, that is something that we also can provide there. We could look at doing whole group trainings. We want to just make sure people are placed in the best space possible to know where students' learning lie so that they can build upon those blocks. We want to set students up for their best place to be able to be in a global society. And like Song said, there are no two children that are the same. And the worst thing we can do is just to lump all children into one sector and believe that there's a one size fits all. As we stated, you would never want your doctor to do that to you. So we definitely don't do that in this space.
I love that analogy. That really just kind of really sets the tone when you said that, as a person who is, and you are a licensed practitioner, right? As an educator, you have to get that license. So to in certification to teach. So as a person who is a master diagnostician and a practitioner in that regard, with regards to education, I love the framework that you set. I
Thank
know I would not want to be in a room with five other people while a doctor is intimately attending to my specific needs. So, thank you for laying that out. This is not a
you. Welcome.
triage effect in that regard, but this is very much so intimate. It is very much so focused. And it is something that you have shared in previous conversations that you've done with your children. So, this is something that is tried and true.
It is. They have definitely had the Jones method put on them, and they talk about it many and many a times. Every summer was very different and grueling for them because every summer I did a battery of assessments on my children because I needed to make sure going into the upcoming school year, I knew exactly where they were performing. And yeah, so while they laugh about it now, they definitely appreciate it because they know how detailed their mother was in making sure that they were prepared for school and there was always something on the books educationally to do. And I don't fall far fetched from that. My mother, our mother, she definitely was the same way. She was very detailed with us throughout the summer in some type of educational platform. So 9 times out of 10, we didn't really see a break either because we were reading, writing, doing book reports. I can say that was something that I definitely trended to my children. And they can appreciate it now. So that was a great passer on her. So yes.
Yeah, I definitely share with the Reframe Brain audience yesterday, well, last yesterday, in episode 10, that you are my sister. You're one of my baby sisters. So yes, this is my biological sister. And the household that we grew up in was definitely one that was very much so education focused. And so, I mean, our bond that my sisters and I have, I believe, and we have discussions around this, that a lot of that bond is because we just were not allowed to fall out and fight with one another. And when we did have disagreements, that we had to articulate those disagreements on in a book report format to write about, okay, so this is a disagreement you're having, but talk to me about why you love your sister. And so we had to write essays on why we loved each other. And we truly do. We are friends. We have great respect for one another. We're
Yes,
in
we
healthcare, we're in education,
yes,
politics, with
yes.
a pivot into integrative health now. And so all of those things we embrace about one another because we are so very different. We sound the same in many respects. There are things, there are mannerisms that we have. We look alike. There are things that you can see us in. You're going like, oh my gosh, I didn't know who. Those things are very, very true. And we are still three very different people in that we respect and we love and we honor one another as those different people. We don't try to place one another into the life of Erica, into the life of Kim. We don't do that. Into the life of Joelle. We don't do that. And so I believe rather that the individualism that you give, Kim, in your practice, not only as an educator but through intentional intervention, really does shine through. So as we prepare to wrap, and want to thank everyone that did join us for this special Juneteenth live. Juneteenth was yesterday, so hope that everyone did get a chance to really embrace that Freedom Day, as it is also called, or Liberation Day. Hope
Yes.
people did get to engage that. Hope fathers felt loved yesterday, and that it is observed as a federal holiday. So, for those who, maybe you were scrolling through social media and you were able to see us on social media and you've joined us, thank you so much for joining us. Kim, for people that want to connect with intentional intervention, could you tell us how, okay, they've made a decision to say, okay, I would like to have a discovery call with you. I'd like to perhaps look into this service. And it is a service, so there definitely is a fee with that. Can you talk with us about, one, how would they make contact with you? And then number two, you've walked us through the service, but who's on your team, like what those services would entail,
Yeah.
and any upcoming events that you have.
Yeah, thank you so much, Erica. Great questions. And so, sending us messages directly, our LinkedIn is a professional LinkedIn where you will see that CEO and founder for Intentional Intervention. Being able to send direct message there, that once again, like you said, leads into a discovery conversation where we'll be able to send you a private link and be able to do our parent or caregiver intake, as well as be able to learn more about your scholar. From there, we are looking at our initial baseline package, which normally runs about $500 per student because it is very detailed. It's a portfolio. It's offered virtually, it's offered in hard copy. We also have solidified team members that are there for us to help break down that information in the most granular place as possible. We are now offering that from now all the way throughout the entire summer for the amount of $250 per child, which is an amazing offer to be able to get those services curated and just procured for you for your child. So, extremely excited about that offer. I believe, Erica, that in our upcoming newsletter, we're going to have a blurb there where we will be able to put that information as well for those who want to be able to take advantage of this particular offer through all the way throughout July 30th. We will have that available where we're doing $250 per child service package, being able to have pay services through PayPal or Venmo. So those are all in our intentional intervention name. So just excited about all of those opportunities that will be there. Having more of that one-on-one practitioner to parent caregiver conversation, we do guarantee that you will have 100% satisfaction because that is something we pride ourselves on. We have a clinical psychologist that is available. Beautiful enough, Erica had her own Reframe Brain that will be on the Reframe Brain podcast, Dr. Daniela Jones, that will be able to help provide if you want more information through a psychological intervention or assessment. We also have a reading specialist that is also on board with us that goes into a bit more detail with your child in the reading. We have a literacy math coach that is also licensed and endorsed that works in our team, and you have me. So I tell people that I'm not far away from the work. I do intaking. I also do assessment practices, answer all questions. So just looking forward to having a really solid conversation with parents as we go ahead and go into those other steps of services.
I love that. And I thank you for walking through that. So you're talking about math literacy. You're talking about Dr. Danella Jones, who was on the Reframe Brain podcast. I believe it was episode 9,
Yes,
where she walked us through how trauma impacts the brain. She is certified, licensed, and is very much so in the space to be able, qualified to do this work. So
yeah,
that is a very strong team. And even math literacy, when we talk about math in terms of literacy, when you think about literacy, I'm thinking about the books that I have in my home. I think about books, but math is its own language. That
it is.
is so important. Yes, that to have that. So the link for your specific, hey Pam, thank you so much for joining. Pam Jones has a scholar that she's been raising, two adult daughters, yeah, and then a young scholar that's been in her care for many years. And so, thank you, Pam. So glad that you were connected on this lovely Juneteenth. I know as a person who does work with the federal government, it is lovely and nice that you do have this time to
Absolutely.
observe and reflect. So, thank you for joining us here on this special live edition of the Reframe Brain podcast and for championing the information that Kim is bringing forward. So, Kim's LinkedIn profile is in the chat, her contact information. So, what she said, just to recap, is that going specifically to that LinkedIn, which is a professional networking profile, going specifically, if you click that link, you will be sent a Zoom link, a conversation link for you all to continue conversations. And you're talking about thousands of dollars worth of assessments when you're thinking about math literacy, when you're talking about the battery of psychological evaluations alone, okay? When and then you're talking about having Kim bring forward her specific um, tailored credentials that she has in education and curriculum development, and she has certification as a reading specialist. You're talking about all of that. That's thousands of dollars. I mean, for one alone, but then you have a combined team of people to offer the Reframe Brain audience a gift. Honestly, it is beyond a discount. So we're talking about, and to be very honest with you, this is something that is like in thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars sometimes. So we're drawing a line through that and dropping that or making that available to the Reframe Brain audience for 250 for those that are looking to engage those services. So thank you, Kim. That link is in the bio. And not link in the bio. The link is in the comments for anyone that would like to engage those services and directly connect with Kim. And of course, we'll have in our newsletter as well. So, Kim, on this wonderful observation of Juneteenth,
Yes,
share with us. I know you have something coming up in the month of July, and
I do.
any closing commentary that you would like to provide for us. Thank you for sharing that. You know that parents have a level of concern about their scholars returning to in-person training, given a lot of the rise, the continued rise in violence, and understanding that in-person is the best retention, provides a safe space, a growth space. But thank you for sharing all of that with us. So to go back to closing out upcoming events, and then also commentary that you would like to leave us with.
Yes, Erica, thank you so much. And I appreciate this platform. It is absolutely feels amazing to be able to look at you and see the bandwidth of the work that is being done by the Reframe Brain podcast and other services. And I'm just really praying to just stay connected because this is absolutely one of the most excellent platforms of education I've ever had the honor to be a part of. So, Reframe Brain audience, even if you do not have a scholar that is in the early childhood setting, please share the information out with those who do. It is also critical at this point. I tell people to think about it like this: our children and this generation of children, they will be taking care of us. If we are blessed to live, they will have to take care of us. And right now, the way our job and employment market looks, I connect with a lot of small businesses as well. They have informed me, like, Kim, what are we going to do? Like, we have teenagers coming into us who have literacy issues that are having difficulty with filling out applications that are not able to necessarily follow more than 1 to 2 part directions and not necessarily engage. What are we going to do? Like, what is the answer? And I'm like, wow, that's a loaded question and it's a loaded concern, but it is something that it's a community effort. It starts with acknowledging where we are and how to get to the next step or the next differentiator phase of learning. And that involves us being intentional. So I'm looking forward to please share that information out because we would never say that we're not accepting or that's not, there's no problem that's too big. There's nothing that is too small for us to be able to consult through. So on July 30th, that is a Saturday, I am excited, and I'm going to be sharing this with Erica so it can absolutely be in our Reframe Brain newsletter as well. That we are going to have a session that is going to drop with a Zoom link where we are inviting parents, stakeholders, people, churches, whoever to be on this particular Zoom call. I am going to be hosting, as well as some of my team members, how we can make sure that we prepare for a successful upcoming 22-23 school year. So we're going to be dropping in those tips about how you can make sure you stay engaged. We're going to be giving away some of the products that we put our name behind to be able to support students. We're going to be opening this up for social emotional support, and we're going to make sure that we are dedicated to staying connected with you throughout the school year. So this will be the first of many, and we are just going to share out a plethora of information. We were supposed to launch our website today and had some technical glitches, so we will absolutely have all of that ready for you for sure by July 30th, and that will be also our last day of running our availability around, as Erica said, that Dr. Davis tells her to keep it in the cart, the $250 special per child, to be able to say we are willing to procure all of those services for you in your home for that amount. And that will be our last day for that. But we'll also have some other goodies that will also be in the cart. So we look forward to that. We'll keep the Reframe Brain audience abreast on the link and all of that, everything that is leading up to that event. So just very excited about partnering with you, Erica, on that, and just making sure that our audience is there and ready.
Love that. And that event is going to be an event that is going to be at no cost to whomever it is that shows up. So I think that
Absolutely.
that is also so interested for those people that are looking to move a little bit deeper and have their scholar intimately engaged. Then that's when you're talking about the suite of services that are offered. So thank you for that. Um, Kim, thank you for being a part of the ecosystem that does center brain health and unseen
Absolutely.
injuries when you talk about the social emotional issues, and just really thinking about the future. And the future is, really not right here in the present, but it is comprised of what we do in present moments. So
Yeah.
really, thank you for being very dedicated to that work. Um, we look forward to hearing more about when these dates will be, so that I just shared with the audience in the comments that they're going to be next month. So, of course, in our newsletter, we will definitely make sure that the Reframe Brain audience is abreast of when these events, when the event that Kim talked about, really helping to prepare scholars for the 2023 successful school year. And we're so excited. We will be sharing that through our newsletter in form of announcements as well. Kim Jones, it has been excellent to have you on for this special Juneteenth observation episode. I think, in terms of freedom, one of the ways in which I think about freedom is the freedom to be able to think and think well for oneself,
Yeah.
and to let go, as my friend Vaughn would say, of the platitudes. And I think being free also means a level of preparation. And so, definitely want to thank you for the level of preparation. Dr. Wilson has joined us. Good morning, Dr. Wilson. So good to have you on.
Yes. Big sister.
Okay, she is the big sister of us. So
Absolutely.
good to have you on, Dr. Wilson, who does impressive executive level coaching with
Absolutely.
W2 Communications, and also works in higher education in the administrative. Definitely Kim and Dr. Wilson have really, really excellent conversations with regard to that education spectrum. So the
Absolutely.
work that's done now, it definitely impacts what Dr. Wilson sees at
For
the higher
preparing our
levels of
scholars for
education.
her. Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any parting words, Kim, before we exit?
Just the parting words, Erica, of thank you for linking how freedom and education go together, thinking about our ancestors, and we stand on their shoulders they have paved and carved a way for us to have freedom in education. I say, in the words of the great and late Nelson Mandela, that education is the weapon, and it is the one thing we fight with that no one can take away from us. So, being highly educated, that is has been a platform, as we stated, we were raised in that space to know how important education is and how far it can take you. And I thank God that the fruit has been bared from that, and it can be seen in all three of us as sisters that education was very paramount and it was very prioritized in our lives. And from that, it gives you the freedom to be able to move and navigate through the different spaces of life. So, thank you for making that connection on this observed day of Juneteenth, that how far we have come, and yet so
Mhm.
how far we have to go as we're in this space of really shifting in this paradigm shift that is taking place in education in other parts of our globe. So I am excited about this opportunity, and let's each one reach one. So, like I said, if you don't have a child that is necessarily of this age, please share out the information, because it is something, trust when I tell you, will be a shifter and a game changer for so many of our people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. Thank you for those powerful words. And also want to say as my lovely alarm clock goes off,
Yay,
because
John.
I love it. Also want to share that um, Kim, her LinkedIn information is in the comments. Not sure if you all can see it. If you've not allowed StreamYard, you may or may not be able to see the comment with her LinkedIn profile information. But if you go to the reframebrain.com and you sign up to be on our email list, you will get the information provided in that newsletter that will go out this week. So the reframedbrain.com, you get to sign up to get the email, to be on our email list. And then also you get a couple goodies. You get 5 best brain health tips and a playlist designed with you in mind. Kim Jones, the CEO of Intentional Intervention and Master Educator and Diagnostician. We thank you so much for being on Freedom Day
You
to again impart the importance of preparing in education for all. We really do thank you for all of your work. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. And thank you so much for the great audience of the Reframe Brain podcast and so many others. I look forward to seeing you all next month. Thank you so much, Erica.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to the Reframe Brain audience, you all listen. Love you, bless you. Thank you so much for connecting on this day. And this is how we do it, right? It's a little bit different format. This was definitely via StreamYard, but thank you all of the same. I want for you to know that you are very much so appreciated. Thank you for over 1,000 downloads. This is episode 11. We look forward to continuing to do more. And remember, we do this work one beautiful breath at a time. Be well and see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.